Oh, sorry. That's me drinking my Apotheos coffee.
What's going
Good
on?
stuff. Welcome into the DGD Podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds, the one and only Juan Daniels, back in the building. Juan, how you been, man?
Good, man. Good. Just working and watching these dogs get ready to come and dominate another year.
Yeah, you got to see it. You got to see in-house. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See that home field over there, man. See that little hoodie, that home field.
Man, look at this.
And
Bro,
that is
One of
clean.
the best sweatshirts, best feeling material, hands down. So I got the sweatshirt, I got the joggers that match this. So
I mean, rocking like 1980s for
yes,
real.
sir. Yes,
Ooh,
sir.
damn.
Vintage UGA.
Oh man, I can't wait for mine to get in the house.
Yes,
man.
sir.
Jesus. Anyways, you guys got a loaded show this morning. This morning actually. Happy Good Friday, by the way, to anyone that celebrates the holiday, if you will.
Happy Good Friday.
Got a lot to talk about. Dawgs get their first commitment of 2026 in a quarterback. Jared Curtis up out of Tennessee. Justice Terry. Massive 2025. Actually, the biggest 2025 commit Georgia had flips to USC. We'll talk about that. There's a scrimmage tomorrow, Juan, and you've got to see these dogs personally. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk a little bit about the scrimmage. This is a loaded show, so let's get started. First things first, guys. Make sure. Listen, you heard me sipping my coffee. Juan, I'm sure you got your coffee too. But
Yes, sir. You already know.
Oh, look at that. Good Lord. Guys, if you haven't already, get yourself the best coffee in the business. I'm telling you right now, it's Apotheos coffee, period. Point blank, no questions asked. Go to dgdpodcast.com. Go to our sponsors tab and shop their selection. When you get to or checkout, use code CCC, that's triple C, and you will get free shipping on your order, regardless of the order. And 20% of everything you get that's coffee or K-Cups they will send directly to the Classic City Collective. Hey, they are the official coffee and cold brew partner of the collective. So you're supporting them dogs when you drink some damn good coffee, by the way. Just wanted to give some food for thought. Thanks, Apotheos. Juan.
Yes, sir.
2026, right? I know it's the 2025 class, but 2026 is off now. And getting a quarterback and one to be, Jared Curtis, getting a quarterback as your first commit, I think can be probably couldn't be any bigger if you ask me, just because of what quarterbacks bring to recruiting classes. I guess the expectation that they would bring. Have you got to see Jared Curtis, like in regards to have you watched any tape of his?
Yes, I watched some tape. Strong, heady guy, great arm. But when you talk about, getting an early commitment, now he can actually go and start recruiting for Georgia.
That's key.
And Georgia's quarterback room is pretty deep right now, especially. The day that I went to go see him practice, the day before, you had Gunnar Stockton. He was like 27 of 27 in a practice.
Damn.
And he finally missed his first pass, and you hear Kirby screaming, "Oh, you're not going to be, going having a perfect day today, Gunnar." But it's just that type of excitement. Then you've got Ryan Puglisi, who was looking very good. He's young, but once he gets it, man, he's going to be something special. But again, just to have another quarterback to go in there, and he's going to rally and he's going to recruit and get some guys behind him. And then, of course, too, as a receiver, his running backs, offensive linemen, when you have a good guy that's going to be coming in the future, you definitely want to follow him, especially being what type of a leader he is. I mean, he's something special.
Yeah, see, we got Brennan in the building, Yalaya in the building, the J-O-double-G in the building. Juan, Lewis and Clark is back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the J-O-double-G.
And Mr. Hightoff in the building. Boy, yeah, I can't be like, it feels like a reunion of sorts. J-O-double-G. No one heard being in Utah. Trash, by the way.
Yeah, Utah is absolute garbage. I mean,
every
show should always start off with that. Utah is trash.
Hold on, you ready for it? Damn, Utah's trash. Oh my word! That's it. It has a good ring to it, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, it does.
Anyways, I get this concern Super strong arm with Curtis, by the way. Super strong arm. Love what I see. The competition and his team, when you look at the highlight tape, it kind of concerns me. The reason being, the competition that he played is not that great. The competition when he actually played somebody, he played Prince Ave, threw 4 picks in that game, lost 42-0. I'm not taking everything away because, all right, it's a team sport, but it does kind of concern me slightly, if you will. However, I think I heard he might be transferring to a better school. So if that's the case, I think his senior year going to be one to watch if you're a Dawg fan, for sure.
And and I totally get that. I understand it. But if you take a look at Gunnar Stockton, his obviously he's one of the top passers in Georgia history. I think he overtook Trevor Lawrence, but the competition that he played against was not very good at all. And then he goes up against I think a Malachi Starks, and they get ran over. There was a couple of games where you've got this top tier 5-star quarterback Gunnar Stockton in the playoffs getting beat by like 40 or 50 points. And you have your concerns, but then now, what Gunnar Stockton is bringing to UGA erased all doubts. So that's just kind of how I feel, in regards to this quarterback coming in, that as long as he continues to excel and do what he needs to do, I think he's going to be developed very well. Bobo does a great job of developing quarterbacks to the point to where, we lost a quarterback who will most likely be the starter for Kentucky. So it was an issue, or, to kind of quiet all those fears. Just know that once he gets here, he's going to be developed top notch.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Love the background music.
Sorry about that.
No, I think this right here. What if I told you it's been a little while, Juan? Would this scare you? It's been a little bit since we've had the class's first commit go through the wire and actually sign with Georgia. I think it was David Daniel back in 2020. I think it was. Does that concern you at all? Knowing that history of Georgia, basically what I'm saying is the first commitment that Georgia gets in a class typically decommits and goes elsewhere. Is that something that Georgia fans should worry about? Or is it just a history thing?
It's a history thing, but you also have to take a look at, for instance, Dylan Raiola. Dylan Raiola, even though he was committed early, the job that he did in recruiting additional guys to come to Georgia was fantastic. So even though Dylan is going to Nebraska, the amount of people that he actually got on that Georgia train, it actually worked out pretty well. So, and things are going to happen. Other people are going to step in. They're going to offer more money. With the NIL thing that's going on now. So people are going to be chasing money more than chasing their heart, and it's a little bit, different now. Like, people have dream schools that they think about and dream about all of their lives. And no matter what, nothing is going to deter or change that. And, but now we also have a group of kids or a generation now that, hey, who's going to give me the biggest check? Who's going to give me the most exposure versus, hey, this is my heart and soul.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like a business now more so than a sport. But, I mean, it's just it kind of felt inevitable for a long time. Arguably, I feel like they probably could have done better by doing this well ahead of time, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Speaking of Raiola, I know with him at Buford, who was he key on bringing in recruiting wise? Do you remember? Because I was sitting there thinking about it. I don't remember exactly who all he brought in.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, he worked really hard to try to get KJ to go. Like that was his biggest thing. And of course, every single post that he had his whole group of people that were, along for the ride. But if anything, like I said, it's going to be a wash, is going to be the fact that he brought KJ Bolden in, even though KJ Bolden was committed to Florida State at first. And then now you look at the reports and see what's going on up at Georgia. And I actually got an opportunity to see him firsthand. KJ's a dog. I thought, I saw him running with the twos. when I was there. And then of course, like now he is, making a push to try to get on the field early and often. So, that's a big thing. And of course, you look at other receivers and tight ends that, he was, heavily recruiting to say, hey guys, let's go to Georgia. And, if you also look at, when they were doing their photo shoots, which obviously, unfortunately, they can't do that now. Again, just had, everybody that was just, on that, hey, let's go to Georgia train.
Yeah, I know getting KJ was obviously, I think, the biggest, best surprise, I guess you could say, on this early signing day last year. And I guess that's a good trade. Let's talk about this. You got to go see practice, right?
Yeah.
What were some key takeaways from that practice that you saw, man? Because what I've been hearing is there's a lot of good things, but I want to get your perspective since you had saw it inside the building.
And first of all, the intensity was incredible. So, it started off where, I had the opportunity to sit in on the team meeting before practice, and you have Kirby just kind of going over, things in practice that are good, things in practice that are inexcusable. And that's going to be hustle, running the ball. They have those chest things now that measure your speed. So
I think there is no catapult stuff.
That's what it is. Okay. And there is no, where you don't hustle. You have to hustle. That thing that's being tracked. So just the intensity there. And, he's basically like, listen, man, if you don't want to hustle, if you don't want to give everything that you have, go somewhere else. And so there's an expectation that's unlike anything that I've ever seen. And then you get out on the field and it's hustling to drills. And not only is he calling out players, he's calling out coaches. He's like, hey, coach, hurry up, get to your spot, get to where you need to be. So he's holding everyone accountable out there to have not just practice, right? Everybody says practice makes perfect. No, it's perfect practice makes perfect. And that is the example of what a perfect practice looks like. And just the hustle. And, I was over there watching the quarterbacks. Gunnar Stockton looked great. Carson Beck looked great. Ryan Puglisi, he's developing, but he's getting there. And then the receiver room, let me just tell you right now, Dylan Bell will probably end up being one of the top receivers in Georgia history. He is that good. His work ethic, the route running, his ability to get open, make catches that are behind him, catching the ball in traffic. He's great. Rod Thomas did well. Lovett, was there, and then they, got in a couple of new guys that are there. The tight ends, Delp is humongous, looking good. Lawson Lucky, and then of course, you got the running back room. With the addition of ETN, I just think they're going to be pretty dang good offensively. The line, fantastic. I didn't see a whole lot of of defense because I'm an offensive guy, but from what I saw offensively, look for them to be very explosive this year.
I was thinking that. I know early on, I heard Colby Young was making a lot of noise too, and I heard. And listen, if you see pictures of him, that he is not 6'3" is what he's listed. He is not 6'3". He looks 6'4". At least.
He's humongous.
Which I think that's going to help Georgia too. I think him and Rara both are probably going to be split in rotation.
Yep.
I want to see somebody give Carson Beck that 50-50 ball. Because if you do that, I think that's going to be key for me. I think Carson's biggest thing is getting downfield, and I think you got enough speed in Arian and Anthony Evans to surely suffice on that.
Yep. Yeah, you do.
But I just want to see those 50-50 balls, and who's going to be that consistent? Because I think Marcus Roseman-Jack Saint was overlooked to a certain degree because how surefire receiver he was.
Yep.
So who's going to be that guy? Listen, you're not going to be able to really replicate what you lose in Brock and Ladd, right? I think that's the main question outside of the Georgia fan bases. What are you going to do right now that you ain't got Ladd and Brock? But I think there's so many bodies, which to me, looking at the probability odds, the more and the better you have, the better shot you have of someone going to be that guy.
Yeah. Dylan Bell to me is going to be that guy. He is He's that guy. He was extremely impressive, and watching him run his routes and the blocking, and that's another thing too that people don't understand, that when you go to Georgia and you're playing a receiver, you're going to block, and it's a huge focus on it's that old saying, if you don't block, you don't get the rock, and they take pride in their blocking. They had like a little screen period where little bubble screens where you had to go out there and just block, and it was intense. It was a dogfight, and they were ready for it.
I mean, listen, that saying fits perfectly with what Georgia does, because it's been like that since you played back in the 40s, I think.
Yeah, early 30s. 30s.
Oh, sorry, it's 30s. My fault.
Take trains to the wagons and trains to our games.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the first bowl game you appeared in was the Dust Bowl.
Yeah, Dust Bowl for sure.
That's right. I played out in Oklahoma for some
reason.
reason.
And then that next year was the Rock Quarry Bowl. So
the Rock Quarry Bowl, yeah. I don't get that. Out in Tulsa or something. I mean, Tulsa or some shit like that. Yeah. Regardless, neither here nor there. Felt the vibes were really good at practice. Been hearing a lot of good things. I think Carson Beck has a perfect situation around him, because you've got a veteran offensive line. I think the only question is right tackle, and I think you're looking at probably a rotation of who's going to win out between Truss and Freeling. I really love what Freeling brings. I really do. But if you're looking at Clemson August 31st, I just get this feeling that they're probably going to play Truss to start at least.
Yeah.
Just from the experience factor. Because, let's be honest, Clemson does have a good defensive line, regardless if we want to shit on them or not. They do have a good defense. Never going to change. I don't think that will change recently, or has changed, excuse me. But so I think you can see that right there. But I'm excited about this offensive line too, because a guy named Daniel Calhoun. You heard he comes in at I think he's already lost 30-some pounds, something like that. Ridiculous. And then was it Nair Daniels has lost 40 or 50. The mindset to come in and work like that and see those kind of results this early. It's insane.
The other thing too that people don't understand, as we're taking our tour of the facility, and then you go to the cafeteria, is they have personalized diets for these players, and they have personalized programs to say, listen, we want you to lose 30 pounds. We want you to lose 40 pounds. We're going to have you have the workout for it, the diet for it, where they work hard, but they're not killing themselves to do it.
Yeah.
And again, just the whole dynamic of what Georgia does for their players in order for them to be successful is unlike anything else in the country.
It's also a discipline thing too, because I'm going to do this because it's Florida, and it's always a time to rag on Florida. Desmond Watson, have you heard about him?
No.
Desmond Watson's that big guy, right? The defensive lineman, that huge guy. Dude, apparently what I'm hearing is he's creeping up on 500. It's just what?
How can you even move at that? That's hard to even move at.
There comes a time where I want to crack a joke, but at the same time, that's dangerously unhealthy, and I don't know if I should, even if it is a Florida Gator.
Yeah,
because that's unhealthy as shit. But it may if Nair Daniels could come in and lose 50 pounds right off the rip, basically. Just imagine if he was in a situation where he was disciplined enough and in a program like ours.
Yeah,
it would literally look like Jared from Subway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I think that you bring up a good perspective though, right? I think everybody looks at the practice aspect of it, and that's what you want, but the discipline that comes in across the board, right? Because I think Kirby is probably the accountability that you mentioned earlier. It applies to everything.
Yep. So
if you're not following, because I'm sure these guys are on a curfew, maybe even on a curfew potentially, if you got to lose that much weight, like an eating curfew too. So I'm sure there's accountability, probably to the highest degree, if you would, that keeps these guys in check.
Yeah. But again, these are people. I mean, they're the people that are coming up with these plans. They take pride in it. I'm thinking to myself, man, I'd like to lose, lose 30 pounds. Maybe I should go in there and get a plan and just go.
I wouldn't be able to do the running though. I'd be dead after the first stadium steps.
Yeah.
Get halfway up. I'm just messing. But yeah. It just sounds like it's a crazy off season. And then it's just crazy how it just transfers over into the season, because just because it's in the season, it gets even worse. Like you're getting beat up and beat up from games and still going on Bloody Tuesday after every game. So
yeah. But again, that's what separates Georgia from these other programs.
You ain't wrong. Now at the same time though, defensively, my guy Big Jaw. I think my guy is going to have a damn good year. I just get this feeling, and it's not even me being biased. I genuinely think he's going to have a really, really good year. One, he's healthy. A lot of people don't realize, but he had 3 surgeries last year. Only got to play 4 games off of it. And, talking to him, it's fun to find out the motivation. And the motivation's coming from actually us, fan base.
Yeah.
It's the own Georgia Bulldogs that are fueling his fire, man. Which kind of scares me, because if he's doing that with Georgia fans, just imagine what's going to happen with the Florida fans and the attendant, all these other fans.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, listen, there's a lot of fire there to build up too. Okay, just gonna leave that there. That's a big boy.
Yes, sir.
But I think he's gonna have a really good year, and honestly, I think you need that too. We kind of saw Nazir and Logue and them get pushed into a situation where they didn't have the ability to rotate as much, so they played more snaps, and I think it showed later in the games last season. I think getting a healthy Jamal, Jordan Hall being healthy and better, and another year in the system, and then you've got Xavier McLeod, right? The guys that we've got in this room, I think the defensive line can have a really good season. A lot of people, I feel like, have concerns about our defensive line, but I feel like the people in the building are a lot more bullish on them than we might be.
Right.
Which, listen, you need that, because this, and I talked to Kobe about this too on other previous shows. I think the interior defensive line is a key cog in the defense, because if you have dominant interior play, it will impact the edge. It will impact the linebackers. It literally has that like almost like a tsunami effect, right?
Yeah, I mean, it forces double teams. It just creates all kinds of havoc. And if you are in a situation where you're letting your linebackers run free, boy, that's a field day for a linebacker.
Now I want to ask you a question about this. I know you got to see the offense more so than anything. This linebacker core is going to be one of the most deadly linebacker cores we've seen in quite some time, and that's crazy seeing it at the University of Georgia. Is you already got CJ, Raylan, and Smile.
Yeah,
you bring it.
Smile was hurt. He was on.
No. Yeah, but I mean,
when the season comes up.
But you've got those 3, and then you bring in Justin Williams, which is a freak of nature. He's super long. Chris Cole, super tall and long. You got Troy Bowles back in. It's just,
I think you still have Chaz.
Chaz on the edge. Yeah, Chaz on the edge. And then, I mean, that edge it's going to be very interesting, because you're moving Michael back out to Jack, right? So they're going to get him into pass rush situations. But you've also got Mpemba, Gabe Harris, Damon Wilson, Jalen Walker. There's so many bodies and so much potential for packages and stuff. It's going to be from an offensive coordinator. I'd be petrified to try to guard try to scheme against that defense, because they'll throw anything at you.
Yeah.
I don't really know else what to say, but I think the cornerback spot to me might be the big question, and it's not even a concern. I think it's just a matter of who's going to be number 2, because I think people can shit on Dalen Everett all they want from last year, but you got to understand he was getting thrown to all the time because Kamari Lassiter was strapping shit down.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a trial by fire thing. And I think this year, you'll see that it's better off. But I think it's going to be fun to see, because, well, you've got Julian Humphrey. I think more than capable. And then Daniel Harris is another one. Mm-hmm. And then you got Ellis Robinson too. And I think Ellis Robinson is going to be dirty.
Yeah. I was there for the one-on-ones, and boy, that was an intense battle. To see those guys going up.
Do you remember your favorite one?
I mean, not in particular, but all I do know is Dylan Bell just absolutely just cooking everybody that even came close. Whether you're going back. So I mean, but also too, you have to look at it. A one-on-one truly is not necessarily
an indicator.
An indicator, because the quarterback has all this time. They're just going through their drops and then just kind of letting the ball go. But again, it's fun to see. Like that makes you want to just get the pads and strap on. But the defense, the backs played pretty well.
I will say this: one-on-ones in practice might not be an indicator, but I'll jump to your defense here, Juan. Dylan Bell. All I had to see indicator-wise was Florida State.
Yep.
That's just one example.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Really, now you got me talking about it, man. I'm really excited for this team. Really excited for this team. I want to ask you, since scrimmage is tomorrow, who do you think is a standout for tomorrow? Who do you think stands out the most?
It's crazy. I think it's going to be Gunner. Gunner's got a lot to prove, and he wants to be in the running. Everybody's already talking about Beck as the starter. I don't see Gunner giving up on that. I don't see him being okay with not at least giving it a show. So again, when he went 27 for 27. As intense as those practices are, that's really hard to do.
Yeah,
that's hard to do on air, let alone you're talking about one-on-ones, you're talking about Pascal, you're talking about team. So I see him being a standout. I see him now being in a situation where he's not going to overly do it. He's not going to push to force anything. But I see him doing that. I see ETN. Going out there trying to make a name for himself. Obviously, he had that recent stuff that's kind of overshadowed him. But you know what? Just put it in perspective. He wants to prove that he made the right decision, and he also wants to make his place his stake in UGA, the running back room to be that standout guy. So I see him, and then I also see Dell. Just.
I'll give you mine since we did this last week, and come to find out there really wasn't a scrimmage that day. Roderick Robinson, I think, is going to be an animal, just a freak. I think he's going to be a freak, and that's perfect because it forces, or it doesn't force, it allows Branson to come back, at a slow pace if you need to.
Did you see that article or that picture where it showed Roderick had 7% body fat?
Yes. Jesus Christ.
Ridiculous.
That's crazy. That's
strong.
He's 240. He's 240 and he's at 7% body fat. That's freak of nature type shit.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's almost creepy in a good way.
Yeah.
So I got Roderick Robinson. I think it's going to be interesting, but if I say if being this keyword, if Puglisi comes out there and starts balling out, the notion is going to be, I guarantee the perception is going to be, watch out Gunner Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think that's going to be the case, but I still think you're going to see the 1, 2, 3 order. I just you know what I mean?
100%.
But people are going to start talking. I mean, if that happens. I'm just going to be honest.
What I would like to see, and what we didn't have the opportunity to see last year, is especially for these scrimmages, obviously Beck's going to go first this time, but the next scrimmage let Gunner go first, and then the next one let Puglisi go first, so you can get a true evaluation of how these guys play with the first group, how these guys play with the second group, how these guys play with the third group, and I think that those that put Carson Beck on the third group to see how he performed. And I know, listen, he's had to sit behind and play, behind JT Daniels and everybody for a long time. And he went with the threes, but again, never forget where you came from.
Yeah.
So can you rise, up and elevate those threes? Can you rise up and elevate the twos? We know you can do the ones, but, do that. And then give us an opportunity to see Ryan Puglisi with the ones, Gunnar Stockton with the ones, to see what that looks like.
What we did at G-Day I thought was really good last year because we got to, like you said, you got to see Carson Beck, take a drive with twos and threes. I really thought that benefited because while you might not see that come in the fall, you never know because of injuries. So you need to see what these guys look like when it comes down to any kind of instance, which is you see these rotations all the time, and Georgia rotates during spring so much, different pairings, combinations, packages, all these things, guys. It pays off in the fall. It does. All it takes is for injuries to occur, and then you've got guys. If you don't plan accordingly, you've got guys. You're getting thrusted into a situation where you're not comfortable and you've never had any kind of reps. That is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Kirby knows that, and that's why we rotate so much, right? And I know, Juan, we've talked about this before. We at the receiver position specifically, almost over rotation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword, right? I do think that matters.
It didn't. Well, here's the thing too. Where it really just kind of hurt us a little bit in a way is, you have Ladd McConkey that goes down. And in that SEC, or he's hurt in the SEC championship, and now we're looking for that person to step up. And even though these guys have consistently rotated, it was a little bit like too much. So you never really had that guy that came in that said, "Okay, Ladd's down, but now we're going to plug in this guy. And we're gonna go."
Yeah.
So that's my biggest issue with the over rotation. Yeah, are these guys getting a lot of reps? Absolutely, but at the same time, if you got a guy that's hot,
keep him in.
Yeah, just keep going to him, and it's like every team, does that. Look at Alabama. In that SEC championship, Isaiah Bond was hot, and they just kept going to him the entire time. Or if you look at when we were struggling against Auburn, who was hot in those last two drives?
Brock Bowers,
and they just kept going to Brock Bowers. Now, if they would have done that crazy rotation with Brock Bowers and putting other people in, we would have been in trouble. So my biggest issue is like I said, every team has their core guys that's just going to go out there and make things happen. I just kind of wish that we would do that.
Yeah.
Just to get some, and also too, to have somebody, just to be in sync with someone.
Well, because it's like, think about it this way. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword because, for instance, Ohio State, they've got 2 to 3 guys, like dudes at receiver. But if one goes down, then you got some serious questions because you got guys behind them, while they're talented as all get out, don't really have the reps, right? So there's
that was the difference though. Like in that Ohio State game when we played them in that championship, they were missing in Jigba.
They were already in Jigba, and then they went out with Harrison.
Junior goes down, but they were still cooking us.
With Buka and
Buka and just other guys that you were like, I didn't even know who this guy was. But if you were to go back and look at the film, when they're blowing teams out, these guys are playing from the middle of the third quarter all the way through. Yeah. And so it's like, it's more of a, hey, we're all right. We're just going to plug people in, but they've gotten that experience. They've gotten, and of course too, with CJ Stroud, he was like, man, I've got a connection with these guys. It's not rotating people in and out all over the place. And,
because it matters as a quarterback too.
Yeah, it does. It really does. One guy's running a 4.3, the other guy's running a 4.6, and it's for a quarterback that's tough to make those adjustments under pressure.
Well, to your point, I want to bring on this. Think about Georgia and last year with Carson Beck. One of the things that a lot of people felt like he needed to get more consistent on was the deep ball.
Yeah.
You used to, like Ladd is fast too.
Yep.
But when you've got Arian and you got Anthony Evans, that's a different level of speed on top of that. And listen, and Ladd ran a 4.39, folks.
Yeah.
But there's still a different level to that.
He was blazing, but again, just that timing. So, and it's different. If we were out there and you're just throwing on air, And now you're trying to time it up. That's a little bit different, but you've got people in your face. You've got people going all over. You're reading coverages while you're in your drop. That was one of the things too. I don't remember if you remember from last year when they were just talking about the spring practice, how inconsistent, Beck was, how inconsistent Gunner, all of them. Kirby was saying these guys need to get more consistent. Yeah. Well, you get more consistent by throwing to the same people and understanding their speed and understanding their route versus I'm breaking the huddle. I have a 4-3 guy out there right now, or a 4-6 guy that's supposed to be running a 4-3 route, but I need to time that up and make it all. It's it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I mean, like there were flashes. I mean, last season too.
Yeah,
but part of it to me is also, like, you look at certain circumstances. I mean, like Arian Smith last year had a kind of a drop problem. I think it was more mental than anything, right? And you're a receiver, so if it gets in your head, it can be hard to get out.
It's rough.
So, and also I don't think maybe Anthony Evans was ready just yet. You know what I mean? I think that to me is not a question. I think he's more than capable. But I do think it'll be interesting to see. And that's what I'm looking forward to hearing from the most about these scrimmages, at least. And as G-Day comes around, I really want to see it, because that'll be the first time the public actually gets to see it.
Yeah.
But I trust guys like Ra, and I trust guys like Dom to make catches and stuff. Obviously, you don't want to see a lot of drops. It's going to happen, but at the same time, you want to see them be in sync. And I think that Carson is not an issue with short intermediate routes. But when you're stretching the field vertically, and knowing just how impactful that's going to translate into being.
Yeah.
You want to see that. Is it Arian? Is it Anthony? I mean, we've got speed.
Yeah.
Right? We've got speed. And I feel like one of those two, either Anthony or Arian, has got to separate themselves as being the deep threat guy for Carson. I have my feeling I want it to be Anthony. And I'm not knocking Arian. I just want to see Anthony. I feel like Anthony's just got that juice to him. Yeah. I know he's super physical too, which, like you said earlier, if when it comes to blocking, that matters. Mm-hmm. Arian, I think could work on the blocking a little bit better. I think Anthony's just got that where he can come out and just be physical as shit and be fine too. But at the same time, I want to see the route tree development too. I think last year's G-Day really opened my eyes from an Arian Smith standpoint, because he didn't hit a go route for a touchdown. It was a slant route.
Yeah.
And it's small things like that to me, because it puts a perception of, hey, now, you got to worry about inside routes instead of just a go route. You know what I mean? It makes you guess.
Yeah. So it's funny you talk about that, when, over at Stanford, we had a guy that, he was our deep threat, but, he took a slant, 97 yards. Mm-hmm. And so now he just became an all-out problem. Like, you can't give him anything.
What was that? Was it 13?
Yeah, 13.
I forgot his name. Sorry.
Alec Iamaner.
That's it. Yeah, I knew it was a hard name to say.
Yeah, it was. But but again, so if you have a guy that can catch a slant, take a hitch and spin out of it and go the distance, now they become a problem.
I think London Humphreys could do the same.
Yeah. Well, but here again is the problem. So if you see an Arian Smith come into the game as a defensive back or a defensive coordinator, what are you automatically thinking?
Go.
He's running a go. And so again, just this crazy rotation. And then of course you see somebody that may not be as fast. You're like, okay, you know what, we can change the coverage and do something a little bit different, because he's not going to take the top off.
He'll cut you in.
Just having
a cover 3 beater too, something like crazy shit like that. Yeah.
Right. So again, like you just said, opening up the route tree, I think would be great. And then just putting just fear in the defense to say, hey, this guy's not just a deep threat. Yeah. Like Isaiah Bond. Now he's at Texas, is a deep threat, but he will take a hitch, a slant, or a curl and take that thing to the house.
Yeah. Keep in mind, the one of the biggest plays of Arian Smith's career was that touchdown at Ohio State, right?
Yep. That was huge. I mean, he was so far behind the defense.
Well, check this. This is why it matters. You want to know how he got so open? One step in.
And then out. And even that, the ball was like severely underthrown. That's how much speed he has. I mean, that ball was thrown with everything that could possibly be mustered, and it was still underthrown. But like you said, it was that step in, that step out, and then just take off. And then then now you could take somebody like that you do that step in, step out, and then just stop for a curl or
a comeback.
And then guess what? That guy's going to be so far off. When Arian then catches the ball, now he just goes, makes a move, run by that guy, goes, take another one to the house.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, also you look at the screen game. Georgia's fasted in the screen game.
Yeah,
Ladd McConkey was an excellent at this, just making guys miss. Yeah,
yep.
Florida State. That was nasty. But since we were talking about Stanford just a minute ago, Jurasik, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Ben Jurasik. Yep.
Jurasik. Sorry. Yeah. Boy's a dog, and I don't think people realize it because people don't pay attention to Stanford. This might be the only Georgia show that knows about Stanford as much.
Yeah, he's And I tell you what, that was a tough loss for us. If you ask,
for Ash has got to be feeling that. Yeah,
that was a tough loss. But you can't blame him. Our line was so inexperienced that we used him more to help block and not really allow him to be who he is. I mean, he is an outstanding tight end. So what he's going to bring to Georgia is not only obviously the mental and the smart aspect of it, but I mean just the physicality. He's fast. He's very fluid, and he's got great hands. Excellent knowledge of it. I don't think he was there when I was there. I don't think he started in yet. I think he's still finishing up school. We're on quarters. Where everybody else is on semester, so I think he was still finishing up at Stanford, but
he'll be in after the spring.
Yeah. So what he's going to be able to add is going to be huge. But that was a huge loss.
NFL scouts are loving him too. It's him and Dell. Yeah. They love him, both of those guys. But no, I think speaking of, if you support Juan, you need to support Stanford just because of Ashton. Just gonna leave that there. Listen, I still remember. I have vivid memories of calling you at 2:30 in that morning after y'all beat Colorado.
Yeah, nothing's better than beating an arrogant Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders.
Y'all little.
Yeah, that was all that crap that they do. It was nice to see them get humbled.
I mean, yeah, I ain't gonna. Sorry. Moving on. Let's take a quick break for our next sponsor, man. Y'all know him. Juan, you got the home field. I got the Alumni Hall. Alumni Hall, folks. Licensed Nike apparel, all that stuff. Yetis, all of it. Located in Athens, right? 10 minutes from Sanford Stadium, the hallowed grounds right there. Get yourself some Nike gear. Get ready for game day. Listen, them Hoop Dogs, Final Four of the NIT. All right, get your stuff. Get your game day. Get ready to watch some Diamond Dogs. Charlie Condon, that boy he's on fire. He's on fire, man. But get right for game day with Alumni Hall. Go to dgdpodcast.com and shop Alumni Hall. And if you use our website, there's links that we can access to where if you place an order, a percentage of that we will send to the Classic City Collective directly on your behalf at no cost to you. So keep that in mind as well. Thanks, Alumni Hall. All right, Juan, Justice Terry, 2025 biggest commit D-line freak of nature, flips to USC, and then Isaiah Gibson also commits from Warner Robins, commits to USC. Now, he wasn't a Georgia commit, but target for sure. USC's got all this hype, had like 5 commits one day. I want to ask your opinion, short and sweet to the point. Does Justice Terry stay with USC?
If he were to really do an evaluation, I think that he would not stay with USC, because look what happened to Bear Alexander. Bear Alexander, left Georgia in the same situation, and how did that turn out for him? not
Yeah.
not very well.
Now, to be fair, that was an Alex Grinch defense. Now they do. Now USC's made moves. The new Henderson, I think is his name, coached up Aaron Donald, right? Coached up Aaron Donald, and I think that's the marking point right there. But it wouldn't surprise me if Lincoln Riley knows that his job's like on the line because of the defense has cost him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure NIL's become a factor there too. But for me, I'm looking at it in a sense where the same thing happened with Michael Williams. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be the exact same because each guy's different. But I definitely think there's a chance that you see a kid that comes from a small town in Georgia, gets starstruck, commits, and then evaluates things. Because now you give Kirby and them time. Because it is a long time from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think I'm not going to say it's going to happen 100%, but I definitely think there's a chance that you get them back in this class.
Yeah, again, this guy's from Georgia, probably grew up a diehard Georgia fan. Georgia, red and black through and through, and of course, to get the, like you said, it's starstruck. I mean, that's Hollywood out there at USC. But I think when it comes time to put pen to paper, I don't see him going all the way out there from, small town, big city, all this craziness. I just, I think we have a great chance of seeing it, even though they have a new defensive guy. Again, I'm looking at what, Bear Alexander did. You left a great program to go to a subpar defense that's getting run over by everybody.
Yeah. I think he ends up a dog. No, I'm not going to say it's going to happen. Now, he has scheduled a visit. He was supposed to come this weekend, but sounds like he's going to be coming for G-Day. I'm not opposed to that. Sounds like a multiple day thing. And like I said, I'm not opposed to that because the fact that you're coming and scheduled a visit right after you committed tells me I don't think it's a surefire thing. It's soon after. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So I think he's definitely going to hear from Georgia, and I'm pretty sure I know what's going to some of the discussions, right? I mean, I'm sure you're going to hear NIL talk. You're going to hear this and that. But I think G-Day is going to show like the development of these guys because you've got, and we talked about it earlier, you've got a bunch of sophomores in this class on the D-line that need to take that next step. And if they do that, there's your development, folks. And it's not just that. It's also Trey Scott's pedigree in regards to drafting, getting guys drafted, right? I mean, 2021 defense, you got first rounders across the board.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, listen, having Aaron Donald under your belt, okay, that's good. For me, I want to see more because not everybody you can say not everybody. There's probably not going to be another Aaron Donald for this generation. Like it's literally, you see where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think you have a good shot to keep him. I think he lands back at Georgia. That's just my take. It's going to take a long game, but I think it'll be fine. Paper Chase says, "Yo, what's going on, man?" Any final thoughts, Juan?
Man, I'm excited to hear about the spring. Their scrimmage tomorrow. I think it's going to be intense. We kind of talked about who we felt was going to shine. So I'm looking forward to reading about that and then just kind of building upon that. If you guys have not had an opportunity to try to get to one of these practices, please go. I mean, the intensity, the energy that's there. You got Kirby walking around, talking on a microphone the entire practice, and it's energetic. One of my favorite things is, if you guys are recruits and you're looking down on your phone, you're basically telling me you don't want to come to UGA. You're not focused on these practices, and so he
calls them out.
Yeah, he calls them out. He calls them out. He calls players out, especially if they're not hustling, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Again, calls coaches out. I love it. He's holding everybody accountable, and it's exciting to see what they have. A lot of the things too, that state of the art. One of the only programs in the country that has certain things, and you see why they are successful.
Yeah. So Dawgs could be on commit watch. You got a couple commits coming up here. April 4th, you got quarterback Matt Zollers out of Pennsylvania. April 5th, you're looking at Mason Short. Both of them are top 4. Which leads me to this. I think Mason Short will be a dog, and I think Matt Zollers. Now, this is the question I want to ask you on. Rapid fire. Do you take Zollers or do you take Juju?
Zollers.
The answer might be surprising. Why you say that?
Well, just too much, right? So you've got Juju that's, he's got that same thing that the Arch Mannings and everybody has, and it's just too much. You don't want that. I think too that as far as the parents being involved, I think they're involved. It kind of reminds you of that DJ. When he was at Clemson, the dad was just chirping, always involved and being a part of it, and not allowing these kids to be kids. When you're having to deal with that, that's just a thing that you do not want, coming into your program. Do I think he's a great quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's, going to be successful? Yes. But, Georgia has survived every single year with, who they brought in, again, with that humility standpoint. I just think that, I would not – he would not be my first choice.
I think a lot of people get so clamored with the in-state factor for Juju. And listen, both are extremely good talents. I'm not going to discredit that. I'm not going to do that. That would be silly for me to do that. They're both different, and they're really good in their own ways. I think what you're getting with Zollers, if you get them, is mobility and athleticism and a pure cannon. Kid can sling it. Now the question is, I think there is probably some growing pains that'll come with that. A lot of people feel Juju's more polished off the rip, and I think you could come in. And to your point, though, the parents being involved, it sounds like, they're not comfortable with him sitting for too long, right? Like it sounds like from what I took away, it sounded like he can sit a year at Georgia, but after that, it's like, all right, let's be a starter. That typically doesn't bode well in our system. You look at the track record of guys like when was the last time you saw a freshman or a redshirt freshman take the reign? It was Eason. It was early. It was Eason and then Fromm because of injuries, right? It feels more out of desperation at those points in times. Georgia's got themselves into a situation where you don't need to feel desperation, right? At least not yet.
Yeah, you're right.
So, if you get Zollers, right, you can let them sit behind Gunner and Puglisi. I think both of those guys are going to be good. I think next year is going to be wild to watch competition-wise.
Yeah.
But you get those guys in, and honestly, Zollers comes in, I think, to me, good frame as well. But I think his mobility kind of intrigues me because of the things that you can do. And, we remember with Stetson, right? Stetson didn't have the greatest arm, but his feet was what made him too dangerous too. He was smart, but he had good feet, right? We remember the Tennessee touchdown, right, to open up the scoring there. Like, you saw his feet, and it was a problem. I think Zollers can do that. You're not going to design plays for him, like design quarterback runs like you would if you had like a Fields or whatever.
Right.
But you get what I'm saying. Yep. It's more than capable feet, right? Just get out of a lot of people don't realize this, but Beck, he's not fast, but he's mobile enough to just get yards.
Well,
need to be set up.
Remember Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow was not fast, but
deceptive, just very deceptive.
Gosh, he would just get out of so much trouble and be able to pick up first downs. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to move the chain. We're not asking you to be a track star and take it to the house like a Lamar Jackson. We just want you to move the chains, make smart decisions, and move the chains.
Yeah, no, but Juju, I think Juju is very polished mechanically and coaching, right? If you get him, all you got to do is just coach him, and he just does it, right? Like, I don't know if y'all played Carrollton before when you were Buford.
We played Carrollton, but it was I think he was a freshman.
Yeah.
When he was either a freshman or eighth grade, they had MJ Morris, who was actually at NC State. I don't know where he ended up.
MJ Morris is at Louisville now. Maybe?
Is it?
I'd have to look. I know he did go to MJ.
Yeah.
Either way, I know it's just crazy to think about that, man. Because MJ Morris at NC State was good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like my thought was with either guy, I think is going to be fine. And I think there's a 1A, 1B, and then a significant drop off out after that. Not saying that Montgomery is a bad quarterback. Like I guarantee Georgia could call him and say, "Hey, you want to come in?" Boop, dog.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to a point. I want a guy. If I'm getting a quarterback, I want the one that wants to be a dog. Like I want that. I want that guy.
Biggest key. That's the biggest key.
It's hard to find nowadays, especially at quarterbacks. But if you can find them, you get them.
Yep.
You get them. That's me. Juan, I think we're good there. Yeah. So you pick Zollers. Listen, I like Zollers too, and I think the recruiting factor does play a part in this too. But I think Zollers can, I think Zollers can do his own as well too.
Yeah.
Utes have certain things. Okay.
Yeah.
First off,
I will say this to DOGG. They do. They have another Stetson Bennett on the rise because what's the guy's name? What's the quarterback's name for the Utes that's come back for his 13th year?
You talk about Roots?
Yeah. What's the guy's name?
Cam Rising.
Yeah. Cam Rising. So yes, there he is. Cam Rising. So yes, that's what the Utes that's
Cam Rudy Rising. That's Cam Rudy Rising.
Cam. Yeah. So that is what they have. But I think he's coming back for his 13th year.
Sounds like it's been 2,000 years and now he's making a comeback. Yeah.
Like
Y2K.
He's like Chris Winkie. He's like Chris Winkie.
Oh Jesus! No, Brandon Whedon.
Yeah, Brandon Whedon. Who's he? Oklahoma State? Wasn't that who he was?
Yeah.
I think it was Oklahoma State. Yeah.
Speaking of, Joe Milton was the same. You could be Joe Milton too.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, Tennessee fans. Hey, y'all wanted to shit talk Stetson, but Joe Milton was a couple months younger. So shut the hell up.
And so was Hendon Hooker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it may have been Hooker instead, maybe.
Yeah.
Either way, you had some old ass quarterbacks too, and you still couldn't get it done. But I digress. Other than that, though, Juan, welcome back to the DGD Podcast, man. It feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute, man. But it's always great to be back.
And by the way, Utah is still trash. It took an hour.
In Utah is trash.
Ooh, even sister wise. Ooh,
yeah. All of it.
Yeah. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, rate, review if you're listening on the podcast, right wherever you find them. The show. With that being said, have a great holiday weekend, Easter, and looking forward to hearing from this scrimmage. We'll catch y'all next time. Have a great one. Go Dogs.